Now I must be excited about a topic when I put on my fancy button-up shirt to record the video. It's actually been a few weeks since I've been at home base, and it feels really good to have this nice, clean space, especially since I want to talk about a topic that can seem like a daunting new technical hurdle, a new tool to learn as a photographer, when I know, especially this time of year, most of us wedding photographers are just trying to keep our heads above water, staying on top of emails, album designs, delivering full client galleries on time, staying healthy, and all the other things that go along with running a photography business. So for the past month, I've been trialing a beta version of a piece of software from Imagen. It's their AI editing software. I actually did a video review of their initial release like a year and a half ago. I never published that publicly. That was only available to my patrons long ago. That original piece of software quickly worked its way into my editing workflow for virtually every shoot that I've done since then. Tens of thousands of images now run through Imagen's editing software that leverages AI to just basically automate everything for you. I'll show you a demo in just a second of exactly what I'm talking about. But since it has been about a year and a half, maybe even longer since they originally launched, I've been very eager to see what they were going to do next. Were they going to overhaul the user experience? Were they going to make some changes to the AI itself, or some new ways to manage the special custom profiles you can build? And it turns out they pretty much did all of that. So I actually have a session here that's been culled through. It's got about 440 images. This was a very long and beautiful session in the middle of Rome, so it's a lot more photos than I would normally take. It's probably not the final number that I'm going to deliver, but I want to just pull up the Imagen AI beta, run this set of photos through the software, and see kind of how it does. Before we even get to that, let's just take a look at the reimagined interface. They kind of have these nice, big, chunky module buttons now for your home screen access, which contains all your AI profiles and active projects, and then the ability to quickly punch in and see specifically profiles you want to use or projects that you run. So it's kind of great to see that it's carried over all the previous projects. It looks like it got all of them. It says here I've got 60 projects that I've run through Imagen and 9 archived. So that's probably about right. So it's kind of nice to see everything in a nice drop-down list. I know in the previous version you could see your old projects, but they were in just a simple drop-down list and you couldn't actually see the date behind anything. It was really just the project name. You couldn't see the number of photos or any other data about the projects that had been sent to Imagen. So that's really nice. And then I kind of want to punch down even further to the My Account page. I might censor some of these stats because I don't want everybody to know all my information. This is one of the initial features I was desperate for them to add, and that's just an overall view of my account, how many photos have been uploaded, what the billing looks like, and just overall how much the software is costing me without having to email them or wait for an invoice, which was the previous method. They would just send you an invoice once a month, exactly how much they were charging you and why. So this is a much better, long overdue feature that gives you an at-a-glance sense of exactly what you sent to them and how much it's costing you. So that looks exactly as I would expect it to, and I'm really happy that they finally rolled that out. So one of the dedicated modules is the AI Profiles module. Imagen lets you create your own custom editing profiles, which kind of operate like presets. They are more advanced than that, so we kind of need to invent a new word for these AI leveraged editing tools. But essentially, it's your own preference and look for how the white balance is and all the various settings in your basic slider. To create a custom profile, you actually upload 5,000 of your fully edited raw files, and it models your custom profile based on that starting point, which I've found incredibly effective. You actually do have the ability to continue to upload changes. You can see here under projects, there's an option here for upload final edits. That means if you've downloaded the edits from Imagen and you make any changes from what they sent you in their edits, you can re-upload those tweaks, and over time, your custom AI profile will be updated to more accurately reflect right away what you're probably going to change. So over time, everything should be getting better and better as you use this. My very first original profile that I ever made, I just named it BitCrusher X, has been nearly perfect every time I've used it. It's gotten things very, very close, and I haven't really felt the need to upload any changes, which I find amazing. I really love that. But if you don't have 5,000 sort of consistently edited raw files, you're just not ready to make that commitment yet with your own profile, they have the talents profiles, which are essentially they're featured photographers that have a really distinct, specific look. They're all different from one to the next in a certain way. You can like punch in and read descriptions about how. I'll just point to Fair Warisi right now because I love Fair to death. He's a great person and his editing looks amazing. So they show you some sort of familiar before and after, what you can expect his profile called Tierra to really do to your photos through the AI, along with a bunch of just really beautiful, fancy portfolio pictures from Fair. But you can quickly select any of these editing styles. So this provides a huge shortcut into just trialing a bunch of different looks, seeing if something works really well for you, so you don't have to have that time suck of uploading 5,000 or however many images to create your own profile. So it's a really nicely cleaned up interface. Let's just take a look at the old one. I'm not sure if I should show the old one in this video. I'm sure once they come out of beta with this new version, they're gonna wanna forget the old one ever existed. This is what the old one looked like. Very text oriented with sort of really uninspiring, similarly colored buttons and this highlighter green color. It was clearly very just text-based, sort of bare bones, just to get the function of the app up and running. So I'm really glad I don't have to open or look at that again, and I can just stay on this nice home screen where I imagine they have a lot more space to build out additional features as time goes on. But at the end of the day, you've got a cleaned up shortcut access to your AI profiles and active project. So we might as well run a project through this and just see what the entire process looks like. So I'm gonna say create project, go to a Lightroom catalog. Let's see, yep, my 2022. Okay, it does force you to close Lightroom. Makes sense. You don't want a third-party app opening and accessing your Lightroom catalog while Lightroom is also doing that. That is a recipe for corruption and potential database conflicts and all kinds of issues. Oh, I hate this monogram plugin thing. It always adds like 15 seconds to the exit of Lightroom. It's so dumb. This has nothing to do with Imagen. This is a external controller that is super annoying. Please just close Lightroom. Monogram, update your software. This sucks. Seriously, this is a problem. Wow. All right. Finally. Okay, so that again had nothing to do with Imagen. It's another piece of software called Monogram, and they need to fix that ASAP. Okay, so I'm gonna try again. Lightroom's been closed. Now what I hope to see is just a populated list of all my folders, the exact same sort of hierarchy that I've got in Lightroom, so it looks really familiar. I probably have over 100,000 images in my catalog right now, so I'm curious to see how that affects speed and everything. Okay, it opened it reasonably fast. All right, so here's the entire hierarchy of everything in my Lightroom catalog. Pretty straightforward. I keep everything organized by date, so that is pretty straightforward. Let's see, the project I want to edit is in my in progress folder, and it was from May 5th with 2,619 images. It says 8 photos were not included because they're JPEG. So it's nice that it detects that. I occasionally convert to JPEG if I've done some editing in Photoshop. So 8 of those photos were probably from some of the highlight sort of preview photos I shared with a couple right after the session was done. So I'm gonna select that and not worry about Imagen editing those 8 JPEG files because they're already edited. I'm gonna name this new Imagen project just again, keeping it consistent. The date of when it occurred, choose an AI profile, BitCrusher X, good. Now, here is where you can really dial into exactly what makes sense for your method and way of thinking with organizing your images. I simply have flagged everything I want, like I know I want to probably edit and deliver to my clients. So I'm just gonna uncheck unflagged, because I know any unflagged images I don't want included. Everything else should be fine. That's 447 images. I'm gonna run through this, all flagged. I'm gonna turn off rejected as well, because I know I rarely reject photos, but I know if I do that, I definitely don't want them edited. Now, it's my belief that one of the most underrated and surprising features about the AI that Imagen uses is the crop and straightening tools. So if you've ever tried the auto horizon or the auto straighten feature in Lightroom, it's pretty hit or miss. It's almost always a miss. I've never been impressed by it. But What I've seen in pretty much every project I've run through Imagen is almost perfect horizon straightens and a surprisingly smart choice in cropping. So the difference between just straightening the image and then cropping it, with the crop, it actually looks at the scene, finds out where the faces are and some other compositional elements, and punches in and crops in tighter on the frame. It's actually making a compositional choice that I thought for sure I wouldn't need, or it would be too inconsistent, or it would cut people's limbs off in a way that I was really, annoyed by. Not the case at all. I've been very impressed, and I now keep these advanced options on, both cropping and straightening, with every project that I send Imagen. So that's it for the setup. We've got the file selected, project named, AI profile selected, cropping and straightening on, boom. We're gonna add this. Let's see what it looks like. Now it's just giving you kind of final confirmation that you've got a new project in draft mode. That's cool. So you know it definitely has not been uploaded. And we can hit upload. Let's see how quickly this goes. You can keep working. Okay, cool. So at this stage, it's able to let go of whatever database and information it needs to pull from Lightroom, and you can jump right back into it, editing maybe just your favorite photos or something else, maybe another project entirely. Let's see, it's gonna take, it says about 4 minutes to upload 439 photos. All of these files would be my Canon R3 files, which are about 23 megapixels, I think, 24, I can't exactly remember, but they're not super huge. This actual process, what's happening here is Imagen is taking the original really, really large high resolution RAW files and converting them down to much smaller resolution DNG files. So it's just a different version of a RAW file at a much smaller resolution so that you can actually upload 400 plus images in just a few minutes. I have a feeling, okay, so it's nice that it's hiding it by default, but you can see here the Adobe DNG converter is just flying through all of these RAW files, converting them down into something smaller. Once the project is entirely uploaded to Imagen's servers, they do all the processing. So I believe it takes only about 1 second per image, something really fast like that. We should get a notification back in the app now whenever that is done. That is a new feature as well. They used to only send you an email notification. Now you actually get an alert in the app. It's nice that they're alerting you all over the place whenever everything is ready, so you can jump right back in and get the job done. Another thing to try, I'm actually going to interrupt this upload and see what happens, because I believe a new feature, there we go, check internet connection, upload will continue when the connection resumes. So this is actually a new feature. The previous version, you would have to start over from scratch, I'm pretty sure. This one, if I reconnect to the internet now, let's see how quickly and easily it resumes the upload, and if it does it automatically. I wonder if I have to hit a button or anything else. My Wi-Fi router is like right here next to me. I don't know why it takes my computer so long to reconnect to my network. Let's do this. There we go, boom. Oh, that's fantastic. So without even having to hit upload, the project seems to have resumed uploading. Let's see, it's still stuck at 399. There we go. So it took maybe 15, 20 seconds for it to catch up with itself, and now it has fully resumed. We're at 4:16 and 21 seconds left. Photos uploaded. So yeah, the resume feature seems to work exactly as you would expect and hope. And I personally love that there's no button you have to hit to actually resume the upload. It just does it automatically when it detects that your internet connection is restored. It's all automatic. That's great. So here is the processing status. Doesn't look like it gives you a time estimate at this stage, but as I said, I'm pretty sure the average is about 1 image per second. So with just over 400 images, I don't think we'll have to wait longer than 5, maybe 6 minutes for the edits to come back. So while we're waiting for that, I was thinking of how I could show sort of a global view across like a whole array of thumbnails of exactly what Imagen does to raise the level of consistency across the entire set. So even if it's not exactly what you want and you still need to make a tweak here and there, I figured this screen recording here prove exactly how things get really leveled out so that you have a faster, more consistent starting point across the board. This is a screen recording of a set of images from a totally different wedding. And what you'll see me doing is scrolling through the original thumbnails that were rendered when I imported into Lightroom. Okay, this view here, this is the original imports. You can see I underexposed a little bit, some like way more than others. This one's a little dark because I'm exposing for the sky. A lot of these are exposed exactly how I wanted based on the dynamic range I wanted to get out of the photos later, but let's see how Imagen does. Boom. So you can see it snapped the straighten and the crop in a little bit for a lot of the photos, and it totally equalized my exposure, so everything is much more consistent across all 15 of these images. Let's go down to another section. So pausing here, this is the original import. That was pretty consistent straight out of camera here, but you can see like this family photo is a little bright. This one's a little darker than that. Let's see how Imagen does. Boom. So it took the overexposed image, made it a little darker, and you can see all these family photos, super consistent from one to the next, and really well cropped and straightened. Everything looks really nice. Feet are level, horizon lines are good. Let's continue on to another section. So here, really overexposed up here, a little underexposed down here. Let's see, a little overexposed on this. Let's see how Imagen did. So yeah, you can see it flattened out. This one's still maybe a touch bright, but he's also got a white shirt on, so that just makes sense. But as far as skin tone goes, it's very similar to exactly what these people look like. The bride under here, everything is very even. Let's move on to another section. So here's a great example, a little probably perfectly exposed on this one, way too underexposed on this one. Again, the upper left corner here, a little dark. So there we go. You can really, hopefully, start to see exactly what from a global view Imagen is doing to just give everything a much more equalized starting point with your own custom look. These are not straight out of camera edits. These are using my tone curve, my color grading, everything unique to my starting point preset that I use. Dancing photos, things can be all over the place in terms of brightness and consistency because I'm using flash. I typically use bounce flash. You can see this guy here really underexposed, also a little underexposed, a little peppered in here, but most of them are fine. She looks pretty good to me. Let's hit play and boom. Everything is so much more equalized. I do find that the AI does particularly well with bounce flash because it is a really consistent soft source of light. Bounce flash is a topic for a totally different video, but yeah, this clearly did a great job with that set. So hopefully that gave you a sense of what's occurring here. We might see that play out again with the collection I just uploaded, and it is ready for download. So I'm gonna do download edits. Cool. All right, that's nice. So it repopulates the entire catalog with all the folders that exist within it and auto selects exactly the number of images. And I'm guessing, yeah, if you wanted to reselect some editing flag and for some reason, I don't know why you'd want to do that. Cool, you can do that here. So I'm gonna say download edits. Let's see how long this takes. So this will overwrite any previous edit of the photos. Okay, continue. Something to keep in mind, with the download of the images, it's not having to re-download any actual images. It's all just text-based information at this point. So the download, there you go. It's like literally 10 seconds, maybe less. And it has a nice shortcut for you to reopen your Lightroom catalog right where you left off. Okay, I'm gonna sort by flagged images, and then I'm gonna select all the images again and make sure I re-render my previews. So build standard previews so that everything gets pre-rendered and we don't have to wait for, look at these overexposed images. Let's see, oh yeah, look at that. You can see as it starts to refresh all the thumbnails, everything become much, much more equalized and evenly exposed throughout the entire set here. Here's a bunch of slightly overexposed ones. Let's look at these with this green door. Yeah, that brought everything perfectly back down right to where I want it. I love that. He's a little dark, so that's something. Right now, Imagen doesn't do any like brush tools, so if you do need to dodge and burn in certain sections, like I might with this photo, that's a feature they keep saying they're working on. Hopefully that is realized at some point in the future, but right now that's not yet supported. But yeah, I think this makes it pretty clear exactly what the software is doing. Look how badly I overexposed that. Ooh, that was an interesting punch-in. So this is actually, though I don't love her expression, we might look at a few other options. This is exactly what I was talking about with the crop tool, making compositional decisions for you. My original composition included more of this background church or cathedral or whatever that is. It's very famous. I can't remember the name of it right now. And Imagen AI took its machine learning AI modeling and said, here's the couple. This is where their faces are. We're going to roughly center them. Now, that might be a weird, uncomfortable idea for a lot of photographers because now the machine is not just making assumptions about how you want your editing editing to look, but it's also making assumptions about your compositions, which is a weird thing to get used to. But here's what I found. Even if it made the wrong crop choice, if you just hit the R key to enable the crop tool, it's actually so much faster and convenient to already have it pre-cropped in for you to just like correct for it wherever you need. When you normally hit the crop tool, say this was the original shot, it fills the entire window and you have to like click up and find the edge and then drag it down and then move it over. When it's pre-cropped in, again, even if it's a crop that I'm not totally happy with, it's great that I can just jump right to the rearrangement phase of where I want the crop to be. Even when it messes up, I still find it very, very useful. If you're not getting results you're happy with and you're just not ready to trust the cropping tool in its entirety, definitely keep the straighten tool on. It does an amazingly good job of finding the like dominant horizon lines and just nudging those perfectly straight without taking too much liberty in the compositional cropping part. At this stage, I can go through the entire gallery and just make any subtle tweaks and adjust any of the cropping that I maybe wasn't happy with. But as I'm wrapping up the end of this video, I'm gonna show you images now that are exactly edited as returned from Imagen. Right now, you are looking at images that I haven't actually needed to tweak at all. I just wanted to show you a full screen view of exactly what the Imagen edit looked like and be done with it. Again, at this stage, if I wanted to, I could take any tweaks that I made and re-upload my final edits for Imagen to learn from my preferences and build a better profile. But personally, I am still so happy with the time savings I'm getting from the original profile I built from a year and a half ago. I don't really feel the need to go through the process of re-uploading my final edits because my tweaks are so minimal at this point. If you've been holding off on trying AI editing at all for any reason, this is a really good time to jump in. Using Imagen to edit tens of thousands of images at this point has taken an immeasurable amount of mental workload off my plate. I literally feel a sense of excitement and lightness every time I open my Lightroom catalog because I can jump right into such a high level starting point for all of my images all at once. Really great to see a company rolling out new iterations so quickly. I'm super excited to see what else they're working on. And AI is clearly a very exciting space for photographers right now. I really hope you're not missing out. As always, thank you so much for your attention and I'll be back soon. Bye.